Gentlemen, welcome. We have the candidates for the U.S. Representative, District 3. And I'm going to start off this evening, starting with David Cornette. David, you have 1.5 minutes to address the audience.
Thank you. My name is David Cornette, Virgin Gulf War veteran. My father was a Vietnam veteran. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. My great-grandfather was a World War I veteran. On my mother's side, Robert Livingston, he was one of the 5 authors of the Constitution and also Louisiana Purchase. So to say that to serve my country is in my DNA, is in my makeup, is who I am. Our family's done it for ever since we've been here. I'm a constitutional conservative, a back row Baptist. I believe in the Second Amendment, and that's way under attack right now. We got to stand up for our right. We need to elect people that will stand for them. I am a card-carrying member of the NRA. I believe in freedom of speech. The Constitution, and it's under attack today. We need to elect somebody that's going to go up here and rattle some cages. Someone that's going to not take no for an answer when it comes to stand up for the people of this country and this district. I would like to work hand in hand with people like the Railroad Commission to ensure that Texas stays as free as the best state in the Union. Once again, my name is Dave Cornette. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. John, you're next.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight and giving us your time. It's very valuable, and I understand that. My name is John Slavens, and I'm running for United States Congress in District 3 against Sam Johnson. I love Sam Johnson, and I'm thankful for everything he's done for this country, especially his military career. There is no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure in any of yours, that he is absolutely a war hero. Having said that, it's really important to me that we don't vote for people that we love. We have to vote for people that are getting it done in Washington. And that's why I'm running. If you look at the record, if you look at the Heritage Action Scorecard and the Freedom Index Scorecard, which are 2 scorecards that really stand up for the Constitution and for conservative principles, both fiscally and morally, he scores a 68% average in the 113th session. That is not good enough for this district. And if it takes an outsider to come in here tonight and tell the truth on that point, then I guess that's what I am. Because even if that's not popular, that is the truth. And what's happening in Washington, if we don't do something about it, there are severe consequences for not doing something about it. We have to control what we can control, and that is who we send from this district to Washington. And also leadership. We have to have leadership. He has declined to come here tonight and has declined every forum so far in this race. He doesn't do town hall meetings. He doesn't do television appearances. And again, if it takes an outsider to come in here and tell the truth on that point, then I guess that's what I have to do.
Thank you very much, John. Keith, you have 1.5 minutes as well, sir.
Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Keith Thurgood. I'm running for Congress in District 3 against Sam Johnson as well. And tonight we're gathered here because we share similar views. We believe in an America that's exceptional. We believe in an America that has a great future. We also believe in the American dream. But like you, I have deep concerns whether the American dream will be available to my children, my grandchildren, and the generation after that. And as a nation, we face many issues, many significant, challenging issues. Our national security, border security, revamping the economy and getting it going again, securing our borders. All of these things are tough, hard issues that we need to deal with. It requires new leadership in Washington to bridge the polarizing points of view and to make a difference. And how we handle these issues will determine to a large extent the kind of America that we hand off to our children. I bring 30 years of experience in business, in education, and managing healthcare. And as a retired 2-star general in the United States Army, I know what it means to keep the nation free. I've been in the front line of the battlefield and worked with our great soldiers and comforted their families who kept the home fires burning. I ask for your support and your vote in the upcoming primaries. Thank you
very much, Keith. John, you get to be first on this first question. Do you believe the federal government should have a balanced budget every year? If so, what steps would you take to accomplish this goal?
Absolutely. I was raised in a home where I was taught some sound financial advice, which included living within a budget, avoiding debt, and saving against the time of need. And it's that sound advice that has made it to where my wife and I and my family have been able to retire 2 or 3 years ago. We don't owe one person $1, not anything personally, and none of the businesses of which I own has any debt, not even $1. Our country has done just the opposite of that. They refuse to live within a budget, they've racked up an enormous amount of debt, and they have saved nothing against the time of need. There are consequences for those decisions. And again, we can only control what we can control, which is who we send from our district to Washington. The reason Sam Johnson scored so low is because he has consistently voted to raise the debt limit. He has consistently voted to increase spending. He gave President Obama the authority to negotiate trade deals, which opened the door to Iran, which gave Iran $150 billion more money, the worst deal in history. He has not showed up to repeal Obamacare, votes on prohibiting taxpayer-funded abortions, prohibit abortions on military bases, to limit the improper and damaging regulations by the EPA, not putting up a 700-mile fence along the border, not defunding Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which led to the collapse in 2008. He voted for school readiness, which is now given a standard for Common Core. He voted for national ID cards, which is unconstitutional.
Thanks very much, John. We'll pass it to David, please. David, I'll read the question for you.
Okay.
Do you believe how would you change, let me restate that again. Do you believe the federal government should have a balanced budget every year? If so, what steps would you take to accomplish this goal?
Absolutely, we should. We should not live outside of our means. We should not be borrowing millions of dollars each month just to pay our interest. I would propose a balanced budget amendment in which we would limit federal government overreach, eliminate wasteful plans, and would also stop sending money overseas to countries that hate us. Let them hate us for free. There is no reason. There is no reason for it. You know, I believe in God, God, country, family. Should we help people? Yes. But do we hurt the country? Do we hurt our family? Do we hurt our future? No, we don't. That's insane. So yes, I do support that. And yes, I would take steps. I would push for the balanced budget. I would also cut some of these federal agencies that shows up at daily $1 short, like FEMA. They're never around on time. By the time they show up, we've got Baptist preachers out of Florida sending up semi-trucks full of water, food, and clothing and necessities for people. There is no reason that we should keep going the way we're going. It's just going to destroy the country in the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much, David. Keith, I'll repeat the question for you now. Do you believe the federal government should have a balanced budget every year? And if so, what steps would you take to accomplish this goal?
The answer to the question is yes, absolutely, underscore with an exclamation point. Government spending needs to be kept low, our debt must be eliminated, and deficit spending has to be eliminated as well. So to get everybody grounded on the facts, today they announced that we have a $19 trillion deficit in the United States. $19 trillion. That's costing every single taxpayer, your burden that is $140,000 a year, and for every man, woman, and child in the United States, it's $57,000. That is unsustainable. At the current rate, the United States government spending by 2040 will be 40% of the GDP. It's absolutely unsustainable. So there's some things we need to do in Washington. Number one, we have to reform the entitlement programs. We must do that. Those are hard choices that have to be made. Number two, we need to get to a zero-based budgeting concept where every agency funds their budget, they're held accountable for that budget going into every single year. We have to sunset the organizations and agencies that make no sense and return those, for example, back to the state where we can best manage it, like the Department of Education. Finally, we have to align the authorization and the appropriation. And I would say also the last thing that would help us do that is we have to get back to regular order in Congress. In the Congress committees and subcommittees, our representatives can influence the outcome. We can't have any more on those bills.
Thank you, Keith. Very, very thorough. I appreciate that very much. John, you're up next here. All right. This question, how would you change the present, how would you change the present the present federal income tax system? Would you favor the elimination of the Internal Revenue Service, and if so, what would you recommend to replace it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. If you look at my website, one of my main 3 initiatives is tax reform. What's destroying this country is socialism, but also what we don't talk about enough in this room is crony capitalism. Both of those things destroy the free market and destroy our economy. So the reason the tax code is so complicated and nobody wants to do anything about it, and the reason we have such high regulations and nobody wants to do anything about it, either party, is because it benefits crony capitalism. When things are so complicated that only the rich and the successful can figure things out, that's an unfair advantage. So for instance, again, I know I'm making people uncomfortable here, but to change this country, we need somebody that can make people feel uncomfortable. We have to be strong and we have to be bold. So I'm running against a gentleman that has been in there for 26 years. He raises and spends roughly $1.6 million every single year. 95% of that money comes from special interest groups that have nothing to do with this district. In particular, pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. If you think healthcare is a mess and you're not sure why, look to see who's winning and who's losing. The patients are losing, the doctors are losing, and the only people winning are pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. And why are they winning? Because they are buying up our congressmen, they're getting the votes that they want, and that is called crony capitalism. And that's just healthcare.
Thank you very much, John.
Also, thank you.
All right, this goes to David now. David, I'm going to repeat the question to you. How would you change the present federal income tax system? Would you favor the elimination of the Internal Revenue Service, and if so, what would you recommend replacing it?
Absolutely, get rid of the IRS, no doubt. A while back on my Facebook page, floated a question out to a lot of people and got a great response. And my question was, why not switch to what Texas has, a national sales tax? A lot of people seem to like that idea. A lot of people seem to like other ideas as well. I don't have all the answers, so I'll listen to what people have to say, and we'll do it the old-fashioned American way. We'll come up with a system that does get rid of the IRS, that does lower taxes on people and spreads the burden to everyone and not just a select few. It's the only way to do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Back over to Keith, please. Same question.
I keep feel like I'm going to throw this around your neck. So,
Let me go ahead
that's up to
and
you. Yeah.
Same question. How would you change the present federal income tax system? Would you favor the elimination of the Internal Revenue Service, and if so, what would you do to replace it?
Well, first off, I think there's a basic premise here, and it is that the way that we keep America strong is by letting businesses and American people keep the money that they earn. We don't need government reaching into our back pockets and spending our money on agencies that provide no value to the American people. So should we eliminate the IRS? We should certainly cut it down. There's probably an audit role that is appropriate for the IRS, but certainly not in its configuration today. In terms of what we should do, I believe there are certain things we should do in the United States to make America great, to get the economy rolling again, to keep money in the United States. Number one, I believe we need to go to 2 taxes, 10% and a 22%. Number two, we need to reduce the corporate tax rate in the United States. It's 31.9%. It's the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Number two, we eliminate all of the various loopholes that we have so that we can repatriate the $1 trillion that business currently has outside the United States and bring it back into the United States so we can invest in innovation and productivity and put people to work.
Thank you. Back to David. David, this question, number 3. Do you believe that the United States senators and congressmen should be subject to term limits? If so, what should these limits be?
Absolutely. Remember, if you look at my website, I talk about that. On my Facebook page, I talk about that as well. I don't have the answer what it should be. 8 years seems to be a pretty good term limit. I know with senators, they're elected every 6, so somebody can be worked out on that. There's no reason for someone to have that much power for that long. That's how we get the mess we're in now. That's the problem. If we had Congress that would stand up to this Obama, this administration that we have now, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in. We wouldn't be giving out billions to Iran. We wouldn't be in debt, $19 trillion in debt. Think about that. Let that set in for a second. $19 trillion in debt. Absolutely. We need to do something. We need to change. Thank you.
Thanks very much. John, the same question for you now. Do you believe that the United States senators and congressmen should be subject to term limits, and if so, what should that be?
Yeah, we talked about the campaign financing laws. That's the best thing we can do to fix it. I believe in a free market, meaning, but the only role of government is perhaps to break down monopolies. And right now in Washington, we have monopolies. And it's because of the campaign financing laws that I just explained. I've made pledges on my website in that regard. First, I pledged not to stay longer than 8 years, because I'm not a career politician. I've also pledged not to take any money for personal consumption. Any money they pay me as your congressman, I will use to fight the cause. I've also pledged to substantially finance my own campaign so that I'm not influenced by outside sources. I'm wanting to serve, not be served. This country was founded on people that went in rich and came out poor. And today we have people that are going in poor and coming out rich. When the Clintons spend $42 million just in their tax bill alone, something is broken. Again, the biggest thing we can do, though, to stop the career politician is we have to, in our district, we have to band together and vote to get people out. That's the best term limit, is we get together and vote people out. So when you vote for somebody, you're voting for their record. When you endorse somebody, talking to the candidates in this room that make really important endorsements, when you endorse somebody, you're endorsing their record. And so we have to be really, really careful who we vote for. We have to be careful who we endorse. We have to be careful who we support. That's the best thing we can do to make sure we're well represented in Washington.
Thanks very much, John. Let's pass that over to Keith now. Keith, I'll read the question number 3 for you. Do you believe that the United States senators and congressmen should be subject to term limits, and if so, what should that be?
Well, I think one of the great things about our Constitution is we believe in a limited Constitution. We believe in a government that is most effective when it doesn't amass power, but it gives power back to the people. And today, we have professional politicians in Washington that are more concerned about the next vote than they are about your voice. Therefore, I support term limits. I'm not sure what the right number is. We'll have to debate that and figure that out. But I believe that if we want to change America, I believe we have to get back to people that are interested in America, not interested in holding power like we have today.
Keith, thanks very much. Keith, if you don't mind holding that microphone.
I don't.
I'll pass you another question. All right, question number 4. What is your opinion of the Affordable Care Act, and what would you do to improve or replace this legislation?
Again, to put this in perspective, think about this. In the United States, the average per capita spend for health care is $9,000. It's twice as high as the next westernized nation. And yet our outcomes in the United States are middle of the pack. We're next to Slovenia and Georgia. There are some things I think that are valuable in the way that we manage healthcare today. First off, we have more transparency than we've ever had before. I think that's good because an informed consumer can make better decisions. I know more about the can of Campbell's soup that I buy in Kroger than I do about my healthcare. I think data is good. I think the fact that we can keep a child from 26 on the insurance program is good. And I believe that, as I said, transparency is important for us. But there's some things that absolutely have to be defunded and moved on. The federal government has no business regulating healthcare. That belongs to the states. So the first thing we have to do is give it back to the states. Number 2, we have to have a system in the United States where the consumer, the patient, is the king or the queen. We have to have that. We have to have control of our own decisions. We don't have that today. The other thing that I think would be valuable is we have to create cost declines in the healthcare system. It's totally unsustainable today. And one way to do that is to create competition.
Thanks very much, Keith. That's it. Thank you. And we'll pass that back to excuse me, to John, you're next. Same question again. What is your opinion of the Affordable Care Act, and what would you do to improve or replace it?
That's a great question. Again, like the vast majority of all Americans, I think Obamacare should be repealed and replaced. So why does it pass and why does it stay and nobody does anything about it? Again, the biggest problem in healthcare is crony capitalism. You look at who's winning and who's losing. The winners are pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. The reason it doesn't pass, the reason it doesn't get debunked, the reason we keep getting stuck with things like that is because that's what they want. And so that's the first thing is we have to break down the monopolies. Also socialism. It doesn't work in any industry. It doesn't work in healthcare. There are consequences for our decisions. And when we start trying to take away consequences for decisions, it doesn't work. It's called socialized medicine. It doesn't work. But one of the biggest things you can do in this country to really fix healthcare, because really we're talking about Medicare too, right? To fix our economy, to lower this $20 trillion in debt, which is really probably $200 trillion when you add in the entitlements, we also have to fix Medicare. And the way you fix Medicare is you have to fix healthcare. And the way you fix healthcare is just like I said, you have to break down the monopolies, but then also you have to turn it back over to the states. Let the states put their money where their mouth is. If New York and California want a single-payer health system completely socialized, that should be their right. But here in Texas, we'll get it right. And how do we get it right? We're going to close down the open-door policy with our emergency rooms. It's killing us. You can't have that. It makes all the hospitals go bankrupt. It makes patients pay 5 times more than they should. And we have to further our tort reform. There's risk to going to the doctor, and we can't let the lawyers make you more than the doctors.
Thanks very much, John. Pass it over to David, please. David, same question. What is your opinion of the Affordable Care Act, and what would you do to improve or replace that legislation?
It's a total train wreck. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You know, I was at the American Legion the other night, talking to one lady, a single mother, does nails. She tells me she was paying $235 a year for her health insurance. Now, under Obamacare, she pays $235 a month with a $6,000 deductible. How is she supposed to pay that? How is anybody supposed to pay that? That is insane. That is ridiculous. That has to be gone. It has to be repealed. The answer is simple. Like we said before, there are some good things here. You're be able to keep your child on there until 26. You know, the expansion of Medicaid, that's good, no doubt. But we've got to do something. My plan would be to take away the borders, the restrictions. Be able to write policies across the borders. That right there would alleviate so much paperwork and red tape and cost. But Obamacare must and should be repealed. Thank you.
David, why don't you hold that microphone for just a second here, and we'll start with question number 5. What would you do to improve border security, particularly at the Rio Grande River?
Well, the first thing, the short-term fix would be to put your troops on the border to secure it. You can't get into military installations, so I know we can secure that border. To say otherwise is a complete lie, and I'll say it right here now, it's a complete lie. Obama and his administration and the Democrats get there and say it. They're lying right to your face. It can be done, it should be done. The wall would be a great start, along with actually manning the border with federal security, border patrol. But like I said, there are technologies where we can detect those tunnels underground and shut them down, and it should be done immediately. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. John, you're next up, please. The porosity of the border is the question, so let me read it again. What would you do to improve border security, particularly along Texas?
I think it's a great question. If you look at the bottom of my website, one of my 3 main initiatives is border security. It is a really big deal. It costs the state of Texas $13 billion every single year because we have an open border. The drug trafficking, the sex trafficking, the risk to our national security, the human trafficking, it has to stop, and it has to stop immediately. So why doesn't anyone stop it? It's been 25 years. I'll tell you why. Because career politicians don't care about anything but getting elected and staying elected. And do the right thing takes long-term vision. The Democrats want that border open because that's free votes, those free electorals for their population. Well, the Republicans also don't want it closed, and the reason why is because that's cheap labor for the crony capitalism that they're in bed with. So we have to get into Washington people that are not career politicians, that can do the right thing, that have a long-term vision of what's best for America and what's best for Americans. So we have to secure that border immediately, by land, by sea, by air. We have to work with the technology we have in private industry and also the military to make that thing secure immediately. Then we have to round up all the illegals that are here that have a criminal record in addition to coming across illegally. And we have to ship them out immediately. We're not going to house them in our jailhouses and pay for that. And then we have to cut off the benefits, all of the benefits, for people that are not citizens. Then we have to fix the legal immigration process. We have to make it less expensive. We have to make it less time consuming. We have to bring good people in and keep good people out. We cannot change the religious makeup of the United States through immigration. I am not comfortable with that. We have to make sure they can assimilate, which means obey the law.
Thank you, John, very
Got
much.
more good stuff there, Darn.
Keith?
You're good man, Mr. Slavens.
That border, we're talking about the porous border, just like I said, what we can do to improve border security, particularly along the Rio Grande.
Well, the United States is founded on the rule of law, but the current administrations and our policies today, by not enforcing the laws, undermine that founding. Amnesty undermines the rule of law, and therefore I do not support a path to amnesty for our illegal immigrants. In terms of what we need to do on the border, I think there's several things. One is, we have to first enforce the laws that we have on the books today. Number two, I'm a proponent of building a wall in southwest Texas from Brownsville up to McAllen, for that area in the Rio Grande Valley where about 75% of our problem is. We have to do something there. We can no longer wait. Number three, I think we need to end magnets in the United States that draw people into the United States like unqualified birthright citizenship. I think that is wrong. And finally, we have to penalize businesses in the United States to hire illegal immigrants. That's the way we start to solve the problem. But like everything else, we have to prioritize it, we have to get after it, we have to have a plan, and we've got to start to act now.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Well, we are now at the final closing. And I'd like to ask Keith, if you don't mind, would you mind starting off with your 1 minute to sum it up?
You're very clear on the 1 minute. Well, as I said, first off, it's a privilege for me to be here. I'm glad to get to know you as fellow citizens and fellow Americans. Today we have professional politicians in Washington, and as I said earlier, they are more concerned about the next vote than they are about the next hearing your voice and taking action. We must have leaders in Washington that will take action, that will do the right things, that will use the Constitution as a framework to make decisions, and principled-centered decision-making on items like immigration, on securing our borders, on a national defense. As I said earlier, I bring 30 years of business experience, of education experience, of healthcare reform experience, and perhaps my biggest credential is, as a retired general in the United States Army, I've worked with our Congress in Washington.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
John, 1 minute, sir.
Look, my highest priorities are keeping God in this country and upholding and defending the U.S. Constitution. That's why you'll notice throughout this district, there's signs everywhere, and it has a picture of me, it has a picture of the Constitution, it has a picture of the Bible, so that nobody will ever question what my priorities are. My priorities are keeping God in this country and upholding and defending the U.S. Constitution. I perhaps said some things that made people uncomfortable today, but that's what we have to do. We have to have someone that's willing to stand up for America, that's willing to stand up for my children, my grandchildren. If that makes me the bad guy, I'm willing to do that for America and for my family. If you like anything I talked about today, I beg you to go to my website and watch a 3-minute video that will talk about more than what I was able to talk about tonight. Come and talk to me, I'll answer more questions, and most importantly, please take one of those signs and put it in your yard. If you like anything I talked about, the way you have to show that is you've got to take one of those signs and put it in your front yard. For us to go up against $1.5 million, the only chance we have is that people like you will take a sign and put it in your yard.
David, it is now your turn for the 1 minute summation.
Thank you. If you remember nothing else from tonight about me, remember these 3 things: God, country, family. These are not just words, they're a way of life. It's the way I was raised, it's the way I am. Anything that comes across, For ability to pass, all I ask those three things: God, country, family. If any one of those three things are violated, I will vote no. I will stand for the Constitution. I will stand for this country. Back in February of 1989, I took an oath to defend this country. Basically, I wrote a check, up to and including my life if necessary. That oath never expires. That check has not been cashed. I've been a section sergeant. I have been a platoon sergeant. I have been a senior vice commander of the VFW and commander. I do have the leadership skills that are needed for this and to take the country to the next level and bring back the Constitution to bring our country back. Thank you.
Gentlemen, audience, along with me, congratulations.